Salute, Knicks Nation. The streets are buzzing. Just another day in Knicks land as the Knicks take care of business on the second night of a back-to-back, beating the Charlotte Hornets in a laugher affair, but obviously suffering the frustrating loss the night earlier in Beantown. But since then, man, the NBA trade wins are starting to heat up, with Giannis Antetokounmpo requesting a trade, talking to the Bucks about his future and what lies ahead. We'll talk about that. Today's latest news, Giannis suffering an injury mid-game as well. But the New York Knicks are at 14-7 right now, and today was a funky game. Last night, man, disappointing not to get that one done. We'll shout you guys out and give you my takeaways from these last two games, fam. Welcome in to the double post-game recap in this one, as the Knicks lose to the Celtics last night, but bounce back with a win at Madison Square Garden against the Charlotte Hornets again, which is a game where, we're expected to blow this team out, man. Last night is the real game, the measuring, point for this team and where this team is at. On the road at Boston, right? They had their chances. There was a lot of swing plays in last night's game, but it was a frustrating finish with Karl-Anthony Towns having a huge game tonight. Last night, though, was on the disappointing side. But Jalen Brunson last night was terrible. And obviously today, right, he had a much better showing and a bounce back. Karl-Anthony Towns, monstrous performance today, man. He dominated the glass tonight. And we've got the streets buzzing. Welcome in, Michael, El Tango, Shares V. We don't have the StreamYard up tonight, fam. Apologies. We will get to it, and we'll definitely get that function happening. But appreciate everyone joining us tonight on the live stream on YouTube. What did y'all think about last night tonight, right? Obviously, we're going to talk about in the spotlight, fam. The biggest news circling the NBA right now. And Leon Rose and Giannis are in the spotlight, fam. We have a poll in tonight's chat, and it is, how should Leon Rose approach the Giannis trade links right now? And obviously, I believe the reporting when it happened at the time, I was talking about this over a week ago, right? I did have an inkling that this would come to a head sooner rather than later, because I looked at the Bucks record. I also heard some reporting as well earlier, but with Giannis and the Bucks struggling, right, requesting a trade in the summer, reports have come out now. The Bucks are struggling, and Giannis doesn't want to waste a season. So what do the Knicks do? How should Leon Rose approach this trade deadline, fam? Option number one is get him ASAP, right? Try to get in ahead of the queue and get that deal done. Anyone but Brunson. Second option is be patient, wait till the summer, right? Obviously, the Knicks, it might be out of their hands, right? And the Bucks GM, obviously, he don't want to lose his job, right? He'll want to get a king's ransom. So should the Knicks or the Bucks be patient, wait till the summer? And that is where the Knicks could obviously trade, extra draft capital. We'll talk about that tonight. Third option is keep this team intact, right? Leon Rose put this team together. He believes in this team well before any Giannis trade links, came up. As I pull up a graphic of Giannis sustaining what looks to be a non-contact injury earlier today, fam. Reports that it's a calf strain, right? He was walking down the tunnel, so speculation, it could have been an Achilles, but I don't think you walk like this if it's an Achilles. They're saying it's a calf strain. First and foremost, just prayers up to Giannis, right? Bad timing, but look, he went down like he was shot. So should the Knicks just keep this team intact? Fourth and last option is let Giannis use his free agency as full leverage, right? He wants the Knicks, first and foremost. Shams reporting that there are other teams also that will have an opportunity to convince Giannis to go there as well. And obviously trade packages, man, we'll be doing shows in the future coming up but we'll show you one package that could get the job done. And it's obviously going to be a multi-team trade, right? But give us your thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. Tyler Kolek continues to take his opportunities to. Second night of a back-to-back, I was looking for guys to step up tonight, and it was Huck Porty and it was Tyler Kolek that stepped up along with Kat. David M says, what's good? I say get Giannis now before another team nabs him. Michael says keep the team intact. Continuity is important as well. Jose G, my guy, salute. And everyone in the building rocking out. Hit that like button and we shout you guys out. Man, Knicks family need to be up in here heavy with the trade wins. The record, a solid record. You are what your record says, but we're going to talk about last night. And I think being realistic, where the Knicks are this season and, you know, where I think things are going, right? I think OG Anunoby is so important to this team, man. Right, we can beat up on almost any of these teams except some of the teams with elite all-stars that can, you know, go off. Last night was disappointing and frustrating. The game plan wasn't right, I don't think. Letting Jaylen Brown, switching everything, and letting Brunson get abused by Jaylen Brown. Now, separately, Brunson had an off night, and that can happen, man. I'm not going to get on Brunson too much, but he stunk it up last night, and he just didn't look himself. But he bounced back today with a better performance. However, just being realistic, guys, I don't think it's going to be tough for the Knicks to really win the finals playing without Mitchell Robinson at his peak and with Karl Anthony Towns at the 5. We need a solution, right? Not to say that we can't find one. We've got a couple of guys on the roster. We saw some good minutes from Huck Porty tonight, but he fouled out. Right, good learning minutes, but I think he's probably a year away from being fully trusted. 3 blocks tonight from Huckman, Huckamania. I like what I saw, but he needs to continue to play and get better. But I don't know if I can rely on him in high leverage situations. So we need Mitch back. We need, you know, back to his best. We need, and those free throws as well. My God, he deserves a lot of criticism for not working on those free throws, man. He's shooting a NBA worst in history, 17% right now, as Mitch sat out tonight on the second night of a back-to-back. New York City Grey says, my quick take is this should have been much easier win. Starters should not have played in the full fourth quarter. This is currently not a championship team. And I agree with that to an extent. Like, I don't think that I can rule out completely that this team can't win a chip because there's just so many things at play. When the playoffs come, we know this team, you know, does turn it up a notch, fam. As like I said, we'll look at some trade packages and what the landscape might look like for a potential Giannis move in season, right? And what it could mean like on draft night and what the difference is going to be. But appreciate everyone voting in the poll. Right now, 50%, the leader is be patient. Let's wait till the summer. 40% says get him ASAP. Anyone but Brunson. I think there's a lot of things that the Knicks could do, and it might be out of their hands. If Giannis really says, look, I don't want to finish this season on the Bucks, someone's going to get him. Someone's going to get him on a rental. Now, it doesn't mean the Knicks are out of it for the future, but it could just be a rental, fam. So I think my 2 scenarios, guys, my take on the Giannis situation is there's one of 2 things that are going to happen. He's going to get traded in season, whether it's to the Knicks or somewhere else. We'll get to the Knicks package, but it's going to be in season, but it's going to be a rental, right? It's going to be a rental. Giannis wants New York. He wants the market. He even made some bold quotes back in February. He said, I like Luka in the big market in LA. Right? I want our European superstars to be in the big markets. Right? I want Joker in New York City. This is coming out of Giannis's mouth. So you know he's thought about it. You know he's sat there and thought, okay, what's the play? What's the leverage play? He wasn't satisfied with the Bucks off season. We knew that already. But how forceful would Giannis get? And I think he's seen enough, fam. Something's telling me that he doesn't want to finish the season on the Bucks, fam. So buckle up. It's going to be a trade, and it might be to us or it might be a rental. Now, the risk is, like the guys are saying in the chat, if he goes to another team and it's a rental, that team has a a golden opportunity to change his mind or, sway his opinion. As we see, I agree, the Knicks should have made more light work of tonight's game. 100% agree with that take. However, it is the second night of a back-to-back. And I do think this team might, hopefully not, but might start to feel and hear some of these rumors going around, fam. They are human, right? They read social media, man. We all see Josh Hart and JB react on social media, fam. They see all of this, fam. They check our shows. They chop it up, behind the scenes. You know, so yeah, the players, they do have that weight. David M says JB has enough equity built up that we can give him that grace for that bad game. Yeah, look, Brunson has one terrible game in maybe 20. It just last night was a big stage, and it was one of the worst games I've ever seen Jalen Brunson play. So hopefully we don't see that, again this season, right? To that extent. We had J.R. Smith in the building tonight. Neymar says, do we think we can get Giannis? So back to the second option. So the first option is he gets traded in season. The second option is that it plays out on draft night, fam. And no later than draft night. Giannis is getting traded either at the trade deadline or draft night, fam. The reason draft night is a larger possibility if he really wants the Knicks is on draft night. The Knicks will be able to trade an extra first-round draft pick, fam. And obviously it allows Leon Rose to keep this team intact for one more massive postseason run, fam. And maybe that's all he needs to see. So if I'm leaning one way or the other on the Knicks getting Giannis, right, I think it's a higher possibility he ends up on the Knicks than any other team, right? In terms of percentages, I think it's the highest percentage possible that he ends up on the Knicks at some point. But I can't guarantee that at the trade deadline because the New York Knicks might not, one, put together a better enough package that's going to satisfy the Bucks, or two, maybe they don't want to go all in just yet with Giannis, maybe, happy to play that, part in forcing his way via the free agency route. Or using his free agency as leverage, fam. But I would be weary of the Spurs. I would be weary of the Atlanta Hawks. I do think that the Detroit Pistons and the Orlando Magic could put together some intriguing packages. Giannis has made some quotes in the past about playing in Florida. Obviously, everyone's about their money. That is Florida, Texas, no state taxes. But also, let's not rule out the Miami cheat. The Miami cheat might, be able to come together with some kind of package for a rental, right? For a rental. Because, what did I say earlier, guys? What did I say a couple of streams ago? I said if a team can get Giannis at the trade deadline, that gives them 2 postseasons, fam. That's just enough for some, hotshot GM, president, to say, what the heck, man? All in. My chips are all in because I know I'm going to get 2 postseasons out of Giannis. Right. He is, of course, a free agent at the end of next season with the player option, fam. So, yeah. With this situation, man, buckle up. Do I want Giannis on this team? And would I trade, hefty package for him? I would. But at the same time, I can think that it's going to be more likely for the Knicks on draft night if he doesn't get traded by the Bucks earlier. Now, the risk is if the Knicks don't jump in mid-season and he, like I said, he ends up on the Heat or he ends up on the Rockets or somewhere else. They're going to keep him. Obviously, they're going to keep him for 1.5 seasons, and they're going to go for it, and that's going to stand in our way. That is going to stand in our way, ladies and gentlemen. So, what's the best package the Knicks can put together right now, fam? It is probably a mix of Cat with OG, a couple of young players, obviously, and second rounders, 1 first round pick and multiple swaps. But Obviously, if there's more teams involved, then more picks can, get put into that pot. Maybe OG goes elsewhere. Maybe Milwaukee wants to retain Cat. Um, I don't think Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby would be in any trade. I think the Knicks got to hold on to one of those wings, right? Either or. Obviously, I think Mikal Bridges is more likely to stay because of the Villanova connection and obviously his play, not just the Villanova connection, but the way Mikal's playing this season, man. And his performance last night, man, he deserves a massive, massive shout out. Obviously, he got the game ball if we won last night, but Cat gets the game ball tonight for the Knicks' big bounce back. So yeah, man, look, it's tricky, man. It's so tricky what Leon Rose has to navigate right now, but this is why he's getting paid the big bucks. New York City Grey says we can't keep the team intact and stay under the apron. Any deal for Giannis will mean big changes to the team. David says if the Cavs offer Mobley, Giannis will be on the move. Look, I think the Hawks could put together a hell of a package too. Look, it's so difficult to just narrow it down to a couple of packages too, guys, because if 3 or 4 teams get involved, then it's, whoa, it could be Zion in a deal. It could be Trae Young going to this team, Cat going to that team, OG going to another team. It's mind-blowing stuff, but you get the drift, man. It could happen. If Luka can get traded, I would not rule out Anthony Davis, obviously being on the move as well. It could be one of the biggest trades in NBA history, fam. This thing's going to shake up the landscape. Because what if there's a way that the Knicks lose Cat, they lose OG, and they lose maybe Hart and some other players? But what if they were to get back Giannis? What if they were to get back, other players? Maybe Anthony Davis as well. I mean, got to look at the salaries too. But it's crazy, man. Jose G says, having leg and calf injuries ain't a good look. CT, the Knicks rebounding lately showing that they are a small team at times. Yeah, look, I agree 100%, fam. We need some extra size and toughness. And that is why I say that Cat playing at the 5, we need the best version of Mitch, I think, to thrive in the postseason. Now, Cat can play the 5 for a small stretch, but I don't trust that in the playoffs in a high leverage moment against a good team. And we saw last night the Boston Celtics are still a pretty good team when they're clicking, when they're hot. And they got some excellent minutes from their role players, from Doogie Howser MD to obviously Peyton Pritchard, and obviously the other young fella that grabbed those rebounds too. I forget his name right now, man. It's on the tip of my tongue, but yeah, they got some great minutes from their role players, and they've all got size. I think Detroit, Orlando will give us some problems in the playoffs as well. Now, should we use this regular season to test out some more guys? What is Pacome Dardier's role on this team? What is Mohamed Diawara's role on this team? We invested and drafted these young wings. They've got some size. Does Mike Brown need to play them more, right? With Mike Brown, he's trusting Tyler Kolek, but I think more so because he has to. Obviously, we lost Landry Shamet, and we all know, we could look each other in the eye and say if Landry Shamet never got injured, probably Tyler Kolek's not getting these opportunities. So is it a stroke of luck? Is it a stroke of luck that Tyler Kolek, is just getting these opportunities by luck, by injury? But yeah, I do feel like Kolek's taken these opportunities, and it could be a major blessing in disguise. But yeah, he's not the solution to the whole problem either, because Deuce is undersized, so is Kolek, and so is Brunson. And they're going to try to rough Brunson up in the playoffs. And as I'm seeing a crazy move from Cat, man, he's hearing this talk, this Karl Anthony Towns, and he definitely bounced back tonight. But it's the nature of the business. But I do think Karl Anthony Towns would go in a trade for Giannis, fam. You just got to do the math. I can't see it. I can't see a trade playing out for Giannis without Cat being in the trade. Look, even if you scrounge together all the other players, Hart, OG, Mikal, that's not enough. That's not enough to satisfy all these teams to get Giannis. We don't have enough picks, unfortunately. If we still had, a chest full of picks, that would be different. If we had a blue chip young prospect, that would be different. Right now, we don't have either of those. So, yeah, we can offer up multiple pick swaps. We can offer up that fake Wizards pick right now, and on draft night we can throw in an extra pick in 2032. That frees that up. 2031 goes to Brooklyn. That's the final pick that we owe to Brooklyn, fam. And you can't trade picks in multiple seasons, consecutive seasons. So yeah, the Knicks' best hope, Leon Rose's best hope was draft night, but Giannis has had other ideas, fam. And I do think he's really intrigued by the Knicks, but I do think he would be open to playing on some other teams, fam. Just based on what I'm seeing. We've had multiple reports, but a report coming out from Chris Procyon of Clutch Points says Milwaukee made an offer to New York, including both Antetokounmpo and Kyle Kuzma. Ladies and gentlemen, obviously Leon Rose him and the Bucks couldn't come to an agreement, but there is serious dialogue, and I think we are further along the conversations between the Bucks and the Knicks than people are letting on. Right? Obviously, the talks haven't really led to to an agreement by any stretch, but that doesn't mean that they can't just pick up that phone and really iron things out. Right? Giannis again forcing it, that could change a lot of things, fam, because we are in a situation where he has that leverage, right? It's different in years past where, the star has had a couple of years on their deal, but Giannis has only got 1.5 years. So that's the most important thing. Michael says Leon really said no to Kyle. That salary's crazy, man. Yeah, I wouldn't want Kyle Kuzma either. Definitely. But look, we don't know what the Bucks, may have asked for, fam. They may have asked for Mikal, OG, and Cat. Or maybe a couple of things that maybe Leon just wasn't ready to do yet, like such as trading, Brunson's best buddy, Josh Hart. That could be a major factor. Now, it's also worth noting from Ian Begley that the front office really, felt like this team is a viable chance to win the East, and we kind of know that as well. As we saw a young prospect on Westchester, Dink Pate, put up 37 points last night, man. 11 rebounds, right? What is that? 13 assists and 3 steals from Dink Pate last night, man. That's the kind of stat line in Westchester that does open eyes, fam. The occasional game isn't enough, but a 40-point performance close to is definitely going to open up some eyes. So, fam, look, buckle up. I do think this Giannis thing has a real possibility of happening before the deadline. But we also got to talk about this injury that was sustained earlier today by Giannis. D. Grant says Knicks do have the best trade baits than any other team, but OKC Rockets got those draft picks too. Yeah, you also got to factor in, how much do the Bucks, want to do right? How much do the Bucks want to do right by Giannis? Now, one thing on the Knicks' favor is that teams don't generally go all in. If they know it's a rental, fam. If they know that it's a rental, they won't go all in. Now, could their package just fall short of the Knicks' package? I mean, the Knicks could offer still a hell of a package in my opinion. I mean, Cat and OG Anunoby, even if they don't want those players could maybe find homes elsewhere, and the picks get thrown in. Now, the Knicks, it's also worth noting, the Knicks and Cat couldn't come to an extension agreement. And we all know when Leon Rose don't come to an agreement with you for an extension, what usually happens, man? You usually get traded, right? Well, with the exception of RJ Barrett. Obviously, RJ Barrett, it made sense for both parties to get him on a good extension because we had his draft rights. But Julius Randle couldn't come to an extension. He got traded. But look, I do believe Leon Rose, he wants Giannis, obviously, but he also believes in this current team. And so he's got to make that bold decision. Do I cut it short and before a postseason, right? Now, he was bold enough to make that splash, trade Dante and trading Randall for Cat. Have we seen enough, though, if we're being honest, to really blow us away to say that this team is going to beat Oklahoma? I haven't seen enough. Now, could this team still win the East? Absolutely. As currently constructed, I would still make us the favorites in any 7-game series, against anyone. Look, even Cleveland have started slow. I wouldn't say the Knicks have started slow. They just haven't really looked. They haven't looked the part yet for a consistent basis. Now, we ain't even at the quarter waypoint. We've just hit the quarter waypoint now, 14-7. So what are we? 21 games into the season, fam. So yeah, we're officially at the quarter waypoint. Now, Giannis has also got to look and say, look, I don't want to move from the Bucks to a team that's just gutted of depth either. He likes the Knicks right now. He likes the way the Knicks look because we look good. And he wants some of that depth to play with. And so, look, this injury could be a later setback. Maybe he does see the season out. And I think that's our best hope. Because, look, the Knicks package does get a lot sweeter on draft night. Right, they can throw in that extra first-round draft pick, multiple pick swaps, and then, like I said, if Kolek keeps playing well, I think Kolek's from Marquette. Obviously, not saying he's got a ton of value, but obviously as a nice little chip thrown in with Cat OG, Kolek, RDA, give them second rounders and all of that. I think that's the best possible package. Now, another possible package is obviously Josh Hart. Mikal Bridges, and so forth. But I just don't see that happening, fam. It would be one thing for Leon Rose to cut this short, this run with this team, but I don't think he would cut this run short by cutting Hart and Mikal Bridges out of it. Now, if we flame out in the playoffs this season, yeah, in the summer, I could see that more likely. D. Grant says, yeah, Leon is right. I'm not giving up. I'm not giving Cat that extension. Michael says Giannis is a rental, straight up. Yeah, he loves New York City, man. What was he spotted in New York City multiple times, in the summer, and, his family as well. But I think just as a legacy play. But look, who in the East is not going to try to offer a package? Who in the East is not going to make a phone call, man? Even Cleveland's going to make a phone call, right? Even Cleveland could put together some kind of package, fam. If you're Milwaukee and they offer you Mobley and, I don't know, Darius Garland, Mobley and Garland, I don't know, man, if the Knicks can even beat that. And then obviously I like the package Atlanta could put together. They could put Trae Young, Porzingis, maybe even one of the young guys. Don't think they're going to put Jalen Johnson. Maybe they offer up Reese-Shea, Maybe they offer up Reese-Shea to go with Trae Young. That would be very enticing for a team like Milwaukee because you've still got some young players and you're still able to compete. D. Grant says, look, even with Giannis and JB, they keep OG. We cannot beat OKC. We might not. But I think it's going to be our best chance, man. This is our era, and we just got to go for it now. Brunson's approaching 30. Hart's getting up there, fam, 31. Look, let's not rule out Deuce McBride as well. If there's one real younger prospect that is outplaying his value, he's outplaying his contract, he's Deuce McBride. And Milwaukee's going to ask for him as well, so that could help it out. Michael says, this ain't Melo 2.0. Say we do get Giannis. Yeah, I think it's completely different. Yeah, I do think, look, as long as we've got one of the wings still, whether it's OG Mikal, we've got Brunson and we've got Giannis, don't forget we have a draft pick this year, and if we trade ours, then we got the Milwaukee, the Washington, which will end up being what, two second rounders, two really good second rounders, which will be at the top of the second round. So we can add some depth still this way. But look, I trust Brock Aller, I trust Leon Rose. No doubt they've crunched the numbers in the past, but if something tells me if they weren't able to get that deal done, right, when they had an exclusive kind of window, and it was an exclusive window, like Brian Windhorst has reported, fam. The Knicks and the Bucks were in direct discussions, minus any other team. So we had a legit chance to kind of blow the Bucks away, to say, yeah, let's get this done. But clearly the Bucks didn't think the Knicks offer was that serious. Ian Begley's reporting that the Knicks felt their offer was serious. So that could tell you that, maybe the sides are a little bit more far away. Like I said, maybe the play of Deuce McBride this season might swing things. Maybe Tyler Kolek, looking like a real contributor in the NBA, might swing things. But the way I'm seeing it, man, I'm leaning towards Giannis does get traded this season. But I think the Knicks' best chance is if he waits. Right now, actually, let's take a look at the injury video again as you see him. So I do think it's a calf strain, like they're saying, right? I don't think it's an Achilles. You see the way he lands and the way he plants his foot forward, right? Usually the Achilles is when they plant their foot backwards, but I think the way he lands, it kind of just jars and strains the calf. So yeah, that's what I think ended up happening. Right here, yep, right as he lands, right there. And that's, we have a doctor here on Twitter, who's commented on a lot of Knicks injury stuff on the past. Brian Stutterer MD says this was odd, didn't see anything significant. So yeah, you just don't know how that plays out. But I don't think it's too major. We're going to find out tomorrow, Michael, for sure, man. I do think it's a calf, but prayers up, hopefully. Look, the Bucks aren't even a threat, I think, for the Knicks this season. I just want to see Giannis obviously healthy. Buzzer Beater Salute says, I would trade Cat and other bench players and picks. That's the most likely possibility. I think it's Cat and OG. But how much value does OG have right now, fam? Teams know that he can't really stay healthy. Now, maybe in the nick of time, he's about to get back on the court and get right, hopefully. AP says, salute. CT, I have a feeling he's going to San Antonio. Whatever is going to improve our defense. Yep, 100%. And look, even if it takes another season to kind of, top up our depth, I would still make the move if it's Cat and OG. Because I think we've still got a great chance to compete this season, if it does happen in season. But, I do think that you only got to look at the East, man. The East is so wide open, man. Everyone's saying it. Like last night, the way the Celtics just got hot from downtown and the way they were able to, exploit the Knicks defensively by switching everything and cross-matching and abusing Brunson, like 7-game series, that ain't going to be pretty against Detroit. Cade Cunningham can post up. They're more healthy now with Jaden Ivey and Beef Stew. Now, look, for what it's worth, I still believe in this current team as well. I'm not pushing the eject button by any means necessary. I would still like to see this team with a playoff run. But unfortunately, that might not be possible if Giannis really forces it and the Knicks have a realistic shot of getting him this season. Now, just putting our shoes in the Milwaukee category for a second, right? If you're running the Bucks and Milwaukee comes to you and Giannis comes to you and says, hey, please get me to the Knicks. I want to get to the Knicks. I'm going to use my free agency as leverage. Just please make the best possible deal with the Knicks. Okay, if he says that, if you're running the Bucks, then you would say, all right, we'll wait till the summer then. I'll get you to the Knicks. But because the Knicks can offer me more, the Knicks can offer me more on draft night. Then the ball is in Giannis's court. Giannis is just going to have to suck it up. If he really wants the Knicks, and the Bucks are going to say, all right, I'll get you to the Knicks. But right now they're not offering me enough first round picks. It's going to have to be on draft night. Then the Giannis could say, you know what, scrap that. I want out. I want out right now. Let's open it up for one more team. And then Pandora's box, man. Pandora's box gets opened up, and so look, is it really just about Giannis? Carmelo Anthony once upon a time had that leverage, fam, but he forced the issue. Fam, however way you feel about the Carmelo Anthony deal, he forced the issue because he wanted his money and he wanted out. I get it. Sometimes that star, he just wants out. Look, these guys ain't getting younger. And one thing I really respect about Giannis is he's a true competitor. He just wants to win. And he doesn't want to waste another season. He doesn't want to waste another season, fam. So that's kind of thinking like, okay, other teams might really have a shot. Right? He might really want the Knicks, and he still might, use the Knicks in free agency to get, to try to get there. But in the meantime, he might be like, you know what, I'll take a detour over to San Antonio. I'll play with Wemby for 2 postseasons, fam. See if I can run amok. I'll play anywhere except the Bucks because I've got a better chance. So unfortunately, man, the Knicks trading all those picks, that might be the number one reason we don't get Giannis right now. But if he is hell-bent on coming to the Knicks, I salute him. I welcome Giannis with open arms, and I pray that we can get this done earlier as possible. But I think the earliest realistic thing is on draft night. Unfortunately, it is going to be scary if somebody in the East does get him. Now, if you're the Bucks, you're blowing it up anyway, so they don't care if Atlanta get him. I don't think they're going to care if Orlando or Detroit or Cleveland get him. Right? They're not competing no more. Whoever's going to give them the best deal. Now, does Cleveland offer up Evan Mobley? Man, I wouldn't want to be that GM because you're sacrificing your future. Donovan Mitchell's not getting any younger. Evan Mobley's their real last blue chip young prospect that, would take over that franchise. Atlanta, I could see them going, to hell with this. Let's try. Let's go for it. Trae Young's on the way out. Anyway. Chris Gotti salute says it's best if Giannis waits until the off season, right? 100%. Michael says, if anything, trade Mitch for God's sakes. That is a situation where another player, great point about the Leon Rose, extension talk situation, right? That is another guy that he hasn't been extended yet. So he could be a sign and trade possible thing. Buzzer Beater says, I agree with you, CT. I say wait until the summer with Giannis. Yeah. And it could just be we're all in cahoots with, the Bucks, Giannis, and us. And we say, you know what? Giannis wants the Knicks. The Bucks will get a good package, but let's all wait till the summer when it suits all of us. I just don't know how hell-bent Giannis is on getting out of there right now, Now, look, it is going to be a wasted season. Giannis, it's tough for a competitor, to go out there every single game knowing that they ain't got a chance to win. That's the thing, fam. And look, for what it's worth on the Karl Anthony Towns front, flawed player, but he's a kind of guy that I think complements, the team right now with his offense, There's a reason we're a good team, and obviously offensively we're top 3 in the league, top 1, depending on the night. But Cat, he just unfortunately does come with, major flaws in his game. And not to say that players don't have flaws. It just when you're paying a guy $60 million, it's fair to ask these questions like, what can you do for me? In these big games right now. If one guy's eating up so much of the salary cap, they best be a two-way player, in my opinion. Now Brunson understands he took a sacrifice. Now Cat signed his deal with Milwaukee. And Leon Rose ain't stupid, right? I don't think he's going to be giving Cat no $60 million extension at his age. So the clock is ticking on this itineration of the team, in my opinion, even with the Giannis thing completely aside. Let's say this Giannis thing never popped off. I still think this itineration of the team has a time clock, on it. It could still retool and I think really compete with Brunson's age at a good age with McCall and Hart and an OG and these guys under 30, except Hart. But I do think with Karl Anthony Towns eating up so much of the money, if we don't get it done this season, I think wholesale changes, would need to be made. And yeah, like D says, Knicks could do us a 3-team trade. I think that's our best chance. Now, yeah, let's bring up this trade package, which I haven't done the numbers crunch, but obviously people are jumping to the trade machine as soon as this came out, right? So this is a 3-team deal with the Phoenix Suns, the Bucks, and the Knicks, right? Giannis to the Knicks with Dillon Brooks and Grayson Allen, man, a wing defender and a shooter, but the Knicks would lose OG Anunoby, multiple picks, Karl Anthony Towns, Mark Williams, OG, Jalen Green go to the Bucks. And they obviously get multiple first-round picks. The Phoenix Suns receive Cat, Kyle Kuzma, and Pacome Dardier. Right? Now, I don't think the Knicks are going to get... I don't think the Milwaukee Bucks agreed to this deal. Now, maybe if you put Deuce McBride in there, that might, I don't know, swing the needle. But, man, if I'm the Bucks, man, I can't trade Giannis and get Jalen Green, OG, and Mark Williams back. Right. Now, the picks are the picks. But I can't sell my fan base on Jalen Green, OG Anunoby, and Mark Williams. Now, the Knicks would do this, and I think the Phoenix Suns would probably do this. But yeah, I mean, unless I'm really missing something, I haven't been paying attention to Jalen Green too much this season. Maybe he's had a breakout season. I think the Phoenix Suns are doing quite well, but Phoenix, Cat, Kyle Kuzma, Pacome Dardier, okay. Obviously they're going to have to be the ones to throw in more picks, but Cat and Devin Booker, I do know, are best buds. Obviously going back since the Kentucky days, that could mean something. But in terms of the Bucks, man, Jalen Green, OG Anunoby, Mark Williams, who, the medical doesn't check out. But yeah, like D says, it's probably going to be a 3, 4, 5-team trade. And we are going to have to part with probably a couple of these young players, Kolek and Dardier, OG and Cat, and it might be a Deuce McBride as well. If not, it could be Hart and or Mikal Bridges. But obviously we're going to hopefully get back some more depth pieces like that trade, such as a Dillon Brooks, Grayson Allen, it could be a Royce O'Neal. I know Ayo Dosunmu is a free agent in Chicago. They might not want to pay him. Kobe White is going to be a free agent with Chicago. They've paid Josh Giddey already. Could we find a way to get a Lauri Markkanen with Giannis? That would be crazy. That would be the shooting we need. Could we find a way to get a Sabonis as well? I think it's going to be buzzing this trade period. But yeah, I'm leaning towards the Knicks' best chance is definitely in the summer. I don't think Giannis gets traded in season unless he really, really forces the issue, fam. But obviously we'll be following this really close, right, for the next, so long. And definitely, I feel like, yeah, more news will break tonight, tomorrow morning. Giannis injury update. I know we really haven't talked about tonight's game too much. Last night's game, it was really disappointing. I think it was a learning opportunity for the Knicks to see, where we're stacking up. But look, don't forget we beat Boston in the second game of the season as well. So we are 1-1 against the Celtics. Playing them on the road, they did get hot. Brunson had a poor night, and obviously the Karl Anthony Towns trouble from last night was an issue. I think defensively, along with the Kolek situation as well. We got to find a way to get some more size. Grayson Allen, Dylan Brooks would be something that I'd be really looking towards, even without a Giannis deal. We need more size. Now, Michael says, I don't want Giannis. Don't blow this team up for Giannis. That's fair enough, man. I completely understand. I think this team is on an upward trajectory, no matter how you see it. It's just, do you think this is enough to get past OKC? Right? Is it even going to be enough to win the East? The way Jason Tatum might be rehabbing, man, he might be back. He might be back for the playoffs. Let's not discount that. It does look like there's a good chance that Jason Tatum ends up coming back. And if we saw the Celtics how they played last night, if they get Jason Tatum, we might be locked in an Eastern Conference Finals battle. David M says Giannis is on third base. Let's bring him home, Leon. Now, are we going to get the first real, major superstar, MVP caliber guy force his way to the Knicks and only the Knicks? Now, with respect to Carmelo Anthony, with respect to Jalen Brunson and that, at the time of those trades or acquisitions, they weren't MVP level, top 5 in the game superstars like Giannis is. So that is the silver lining. If you are going to make a move like this, it better be for a top 5 guy. It better be for a top 5 guy. But one thing I've got to say about Leon Rose, man, you always judge a person on their past as well in terms of what they do. Leon Rose, if he realizes that he doesn't want to keep a guy or re-sign a guy, he usually finds a way to flip him. Now, if Leon Rose doesn't see a long-term future with Karl Anthony Towns, that is a ticking asset that he might just end up, deciding to flip. Now, he might not decide that yet. He might say, let's give this a run. Let's give this a real shot this season, and then, all bets are off. Maybe all bets are off if we don't get to that promised land. And I do think that's a significant possibility. Let's see this team rock out, pick out a couple of buyout guys, and that's the way I'm leaning, guys. So I'm going to end the poll now. And the results of tonight's poll, ladies and gentlemen, how should Leon Rose approach the trade links with Giannis? Right, leading at 56% says get him ASAP. Anyone but Brunson. 22% say be patient, wait till the summer. 22%. 13% say keep this team intact, and 9% say let Giannis use his free agency. Michael says, CT, whatever Leon decides to do, I support him though, period. Yeah, you're a true, ride or die, true Knicks fan, ride or die. Trusting in the work of what he's done so far. And look at all the talent he's been able to bring in. And look, if we get Giannis on a fair deal, don't forget all the players like RJ, drafting quickly, drafting Grimes, flipping Randall, all these moves, signing OG, extending OG and trading for OG, assuming most of those players are going to be used in a trade for Giannis. So all that needs to be judged. But could be a fatal mistake, maybe with some of the draft moves and maybe moving too many first-round picks for Mikal Bridges. But if the Knicks just want to wait, they might get Giannis for the fair deal in the summer, I think, right? With Cat, OG, Anunoby, and maybe those couple of picks, some pick swaps, and more teams, in that kind of trade. Um, I'm conflicted in a way as well. David M says at no point were Melo or Brunson considered the best players in the game, yet Giannis was yet still consider him the best. Yeah, definitely, Dave. I mean, he's won the MVP. He's won a championship and he's won an MVP. Have the Knicks acquired a player that's won a championship before, like a star free agent that's actually won the chip? I mean, obviously we got Earl the Pearl Monroe, right? Patrick Ewing, all those players. Patrick Ewing we drafted. I don't think we've ever traded for and acquired a player that's won the MVP and a championship. That would be the biggest acquisition. It just depends on what we're going to give up, and how much Giannis really wants this thing. But I brought up that screen grab, fam, in the last one. Let's see if I've still got it. Yeah, we had Antetokounmpo's brother, fam, and Jalen Brunson hugging after the game, and then we also saw Giannis hugging with Jalen Brunson. Obviously, I think there's a ton of respect between those guys. AJ Salute says, let the season play out and not gut the team for one guy. D Grant says, Bernard King won the MVP. Yep, definitely. But I think, he won the MVP whilst on the Knicks, right? But yeah, if he won the MVP before the Knicks, then that's definitely the one, the biggest, free agent pickup or acquisition. D Grant says if the Knicks keep either OG or Bridges with Giannis, JB, but I would not be that confident. The clock is ticking on Giannis as well with the health situation. Look, I think the way to look at it is this, guys. Look at the West. It's just going to get harder and even the East. But look at Oklahoma, right? Look at this scary situation, man. Look how disgusting this is. Okay, let me just bring up this graphic. Okay, the box score is off. Yep, we've got the draft picks coming to the Oklahoma City Thunder, man. Right, this is a team that's the favorites to run away with the championship. They currently hold in this generational draft coming up, courtesy of the Clippers. They've got pick number 5, they've got pick number 9, and they've got pick number 14. Fam, they don't even have the roster spots, and you're telling me they've got 3 lottery picks, and they're the favorites to win the championship? That's never happened in the history of the NBA, and the NBA is very worried about this situation, right? I mean, they could get Giannis right now if they wanted to. If they wanted to offer that kind of package to the Bucks, man, pick 5, pick 9, pick 14, X amount of good young players they have, it's a wrap. And I hate the Clippers, man. And obviously we're going to talk about the Chris Paul thing at a later time and all of that. But that is my thoughts on that situation, right? As we get ready to wrap this one up. We're on a minutes restriction tonight, unfortunately, fam, but I'm hoping to go live tomorrow night. We'll have more updates to share and more things to chop up, right? As we talk about this, evolving situation when it comes to that and what the Knicks should do, right? We're at 14-7. We're sitting at a solid position right now as the East is jockeying, but I do think that Leon Rose does have a wet appetite, fam. He does have that appetite to get his man. And this has been going on for a while. Don't forget, the background has already been done way back in the summer, where Leon Rose already knows that Giannis wants the Knicks. Right? We're gonna find out how true to his word is he gonna stick, or does another team convince him and his entourage and his brother, fam? They're gonna be throwing the kitchen sink. They'll be willing to sign up all these brothers, cousins, mothers, and all of that, fam. That's how the stakes are going to be raised in this one, too. Uh, yeah, look, I'm hoping within the coming, let's say the new year, fam. I'm definitely going to be looking to set up the StreamYard situation in the new year. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to have to fly across country to visit family over the Christmas period. We will be still streaming, but I'll be on the road with a limited setup. I get back to my home in the studio in the new year, and then we'll definitely be full steam ahead with this one. So yeah, salute to everyone. We've got the Greek food in New York City. Giannis has already, tasted that. And are the New York Knicks going to taste another blockbuster trade, fam? We'll talk about it hopefully again tomorrow night. But yeah, peace, blessings, health up to everyone, and Giannis included, as the Knicks win the second night of a back-to-back. We do have a couple of very winnable games coming up. Utah at home, Orlando at home, and then the NBA Cup quarterfinals really start to kick off, right? So peace to everyone out here, and I will see you on the next one. Let's go, Knicks.